Please write down the heading JavaScript, client-side scripting using JavaScript. So we are going to discuss about client-side scripting, not the server-side scripting. Client-side scripting means the JavaScript which is going to work in the web browser. So whatever we are going to type here will work in the web browser, not in a web server, right? PHP will work in a web server, but JavaScript will work in a web browser. JavaScript can be embedded in server also. So that is using the recent technologies, there are frameworks to include JavaScript in the server side also. But we are not going to learn about that. We will learn the fundamentals of JavaScript using this. And so also note that, as I said, yes.
So what is the difference between client side and server side?
So that's what I said. Client side is working in the browser. It's running on the browser, web browser. Server side is running on the web server. So if something is running on the web server, we can't change that because it is server's duty. For an example, Facebook is running on the Facebook server. We don't have control over that. What we can do is we can just put our inputs and output, and that will be saved in the Facebook server. So we are updating the server. Actually, everything is written in the server. So we don't have control over that. But if something is running in the client side, we have the control over that. Client side means in our computer. Actually, in this case, both client and server will be our computer because we are going to locally put a server in our computer and run it. So therefore, we can call client also us and the server is also us. But normally, in an actual scenario, client is where the service is consumed and server is where the service is delivered. If this script is running in the service delivering point, we don't have a choice. We have to accept that. But if it is running in the service receiving end, service receiving point, we can control it, we can disable it, we can enable it, we can change it. Right? That is in our side. For an example, so let's go to a website. And for an example, let's go to google.com. And this is what we can see in the google.com web page. Right? This is what we can see in the google.com web page. You can go to the developer tools in this submenu. There's something called, this is in Firefox and Google Chrome both. You have the more settings, more tools. Under more tools, you have the developer tools. I'm going to access the developer tools now. This is in Firefox. And using this developer tools, then I can see something like this. And
so
then
it's inspect element, right?
Sorry? Yeah.
It's inspect element, right?
So then I'm going to inspect elements. I'm going to click on this arrow and click on an element here. Okay, let's say I click on this Google search, this one. And then it will highlight the relevant code for this. Then I'll change this to GICTS search. And you can see the immediately website will change to JIT search. And also this, I am feeling lucky. I'll update this to I'm feeling unlucky. Unlucky. As I'm not well.
So that's only client side, right?
Yes. So
No
whatever
one
I'm
can see
updating here, right? I'm feeling unlucky as I'm not well. Right. So whatever I have updated. Sorry.
It is so if we refresh the page.
Yeah, if we refresh that page, it will be gone. So that means I can control my site, but that will not affect the Google server or anyone else. So if I change something from my side, it is showing in my side only. Once refresh or reloaded, that page will not affected by that. So that is running only in my side. That is what called client side. But this will not change. This will not hack the Google page or something like that. It looks like hack, but it is not. We only change our client side story. So that is why you can see like this. Now, can you understand the client side and server side?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So whatever we change here is only affecting our side, right? Okay, so JavaScript is also same. JavaScript can be written in the client side. So it is only affecting the client side. So therefore, the critical operations we can't hand over to the JavaScript. If something is like processor intensive, process expensive processes. So if it is done in the server, if it is like kind of expensive, then we can hand over that to the client. For an example, think about this. I'm going to access this web page real-time Unicode converter from the UCSC Colombo website. It has a calculation part. So this is it. It has a calculation part, or it has basically a code for each letter that each, whatever the character that we are going to write here, mama, M-A-M-A. Let's write in English, M-A-M-A. So that will be translated to mama. But if I rightly can see whether this is done in the server side, or let's inspect this. So then I can just see, or if I can rightly can view source also, I can see the full code. And when I want to view the full source code or the view source, you can see here, this is a JavaScript, right? The UCSC has assigned the process to a JavaScript, because each time when user type and try to translate something here, when I type letter L, it is, I understand as la. If it is letter V, wa. Letter W is also wa. Letter S is sa. Likewise, all the Unicode characters and the relevant fonts, relevant characters will be there in the JavaScript itself. So, because UCSC don't want to do that in the server side. No need to think about the security, no. So anyone who wish to translate something can translate this. So if UCSC is going to do this in University of Colombo is going to do this in server side, it will be like unnecessary work. Because each time if user translates something, the server has to work. Why? That is useless. Because client can do that using a JavaScript. So that's why we are assigning that to a client. Even though client disable, okay, let's say I have disabled JavaScript, then I am the one to not to benefit from that. If I, for an example, if I disable JavaScript, this code won't work. This code won't work. But the thing is, I am affected, not the UCSC. Right? Therefore, some processes, you don't want the processors in, sorry, servers involved. You can assign that to the client. If you can copy and paste this script, you can also create this code. Just copy and paste this source code for the JavaScript, and you can also create your own translate, which can translate things from or Unicode from actually the Singlish to Unicode. You can also add this to your web page. Right? Simple as that. Okay, let's go and learn. Okay, let's go back to the code and start creating our own code on that. So JavaScript. So please write under that. JS is not Java. JS is not Java, but it is similar to Java. We can embed JS as inline, internal, or external code, similar to CSS. Let's try the inline way and also the internal way and also the external way. So let's give a try, inline, internal, and external way. And I'm going to write a code and then I'll paste the code here, right? So let's take a new file. And I'm going to write a brand new HTML. You can also write this in your web page. Head and head section, then title and the title section. Say hello there. And after the head section, let's add the body section. Then the closing of the body section. And then let's write in line 1. I'm going to maybe I'm going to add a button. Input type button. Value is equal to, let's say, show. On click, I'm going to run a JavaScript. The first method is just I can mention alert hi, something like that. It will display a message called hi from JavaScript. So this is one way of inputting, adding that. And the second way is you can add like, so let's say another button, input type button. This is show to. And this time I'm going to add a JavaScript like this. JavaScript colon, and then the relevant JavaScript alert hi or something. Maybe something else. Oh, let's keep the same thing. And let's add few more buttons. Show 3 and show 4. Show 1 here. This time I'm going to write something, document.write. And I'm going to write hi here. And this one, JavaScript document.write. Again, the hi. So let's save this. I'm going to save this as September 16 js.html in my desktop. Save this and open this. Let's go to desktop and see September 16 js. And you can see once I open there, okay, showing 4 buttons. The show 1 will display, oh, what has happened? Show 1, nothing. Show 2, nothing. Show 3. Show 4. What has happened? Alert. Okay. Seems okay. Show 1 on click. Alert. Okay, let's inspect. Going to the console to see the JavaScript errors, if any. Click on this, Nothing happens. Actually, let's increase the size of this. Oh. Why is that? So let's go to Google Chrome. I'm in Google Chrome. Let's go to the Firefox. And paste it here.
So in my one, it shows hi.
It shows hi, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. So what's going on there? Character encoding of HTML. Oh, so what's that? Okay, let's say head, title, okay, body. Everything perfectly done. Let's add the doc type, but that is not required. DOC. Please type this and see. HTML, save it. Okay. Errors, nothing is there. Other than this, no other errors. You should see a message called hi, something like this. On click. That is my mistake, right? C is missing. Save this and now it's okay. Yeah, it's displaying hi, show, displaying hi, show tree, replacing the text with hi, going back, on font. Again, displaying hi there in the page itself, right? Page itself replaced with the hi. You can see these are the four on. So that is on the mistake is C was missing. That's why I couldn't understand. I couldn't find that earlier. Okay, please do this. This is how you embed this inline. And let me copy the code and add this to the note. And you can write down that. This is the inline way of embedding that. Let me know once you finish. In internal JavaScript, actually, you have to add the internal strip either in head section or body section. So because CSS can only be added in head section, but here this can be added even head section or body section. Let's say something like this. I want to do the same. Let's say document.write, document.write. Then let's say answer. That answer I'm going to add, actually I'm going to do some calculations. I can say var x equal 15, var y equal 10 or 14, var answer equal x multiplied by y, and then document.write the answer, right? So then I'm going to erase all these things. Okay, let's save this. If I run this now, so it will directly give 210, which is the answer of this operation. Because I said document.write the answer. So then it will calculate after calculation. So it will give the answer in this 50. Okay, sorry. After calculating, it will display us the answer. That means 15 into 14 is 210. Okay, you can type that, write that as an example for the second one, which means internal one. This is example for the internal. You can try and write that as a code. These semicolons are optional. You can omit the semicolons, but so just for the neatness, I just added. This is how you add the internal one. Please do and write down that as well. Okay, the third type is where you are going to add this script in a separate file. Let's do that. I'll remove this part. After removing this part, what I'm going to do is I'm going to